Hey, what's up, guys? Jake here with another episode of On the Rise Music Podcast. Today, we are honored to have our guest be the one and only Born Eye, who's not only a lyricist but also a practicing. He practices meditation and he leads meditative retreats. So, just want to say I'm a huge fan. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, very well. Thank you so much for having me, and it's wonderful to be here.
Oh, of course. I mean, just dive right into it. You're quite the artist. I mean, you're not someone who would be pegged as a traditional rapper or even just a traditional EDM artist. You are very heavily influenced by meditation and just mindfulness. And it's that's something that you don't get to really hear often. And it's nice to find someone like you who blends these trap elements and these like current hip hop sounds in with something that is kind of good for you. It builds you up. Do you want to just get into a little bit how that came about and how you decided to meld the two together?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for those kind words. And yeah, man, it really means a lot for me to have kind of, embarked on this experimental journey of wanting to be true to my roots as a hip hop artist
Mhm.
and someone who's like deeply connected to the history and the world of of hip hop, and then also as a meditation practitioner, as a Buddhist practitioner, as you know someone who is also very deeply invested in the contemplative traditions, to bring those two worlds together. And because I was afraid to kind of bring them together in as deliberate a way that I've done now.
Mhm.
And so to be able to do that and for people to have responded to it in the way that they've responded to it is really powerful. I guess your question of what was the inspiration, or what was
Yeah, like what was the like there had to have been a moment where you were like, oh, okay, this seems like something that is pretty cool. Like that you just realized like, hey, I'm gonna go for this. I'm gonna try this thing out, like mixing the rap with the meditation.
I've always done. There was, I've always included themes around spirituality in my music, always. But I think over the course of the pandemic, when I was set to be like on tour, I had just done a few records with like a few different like prominent like dubstep and
Mhm.
EDM artists, and I was going to be touring with them and doing and I had a few records out on my own that were on the dubstep and trap side. So I was about to start touring, and then everything stopped, and I kind of realized that the way that I had been operating wasn't completely in line with my values, and wasn't completely in line with my goals as a human being, not just my goals as an artist. And
Yeah.
so being able to slow down and connect with what was truly in my heart allowed me to revisit some of the songs that I had that were the building blocks for in this moment, and
Okay.
continue to build on them more. I think that what I ultimately came to realize was that, well, I so for so I've been teaching meditation and mindfulness for as probably as long as I've been, making music.
Oh,
And
okay.
what I think I came to realize is that um, regardless of whatever path, whatever like job description I might be fulfilling in a particular moment, what my ultimate goal is to encourage people to love themselves, to be kind to themselves, and to spread kindness and love in the world around them.
Yeah.
And so whether I'm expressing that as a meditation teacher or as a rapper, that's what I want to express, period, you know. So
Mhm.
realizing that I could translate this sort of singular focus of, yeah, I just want people to recognize that they are enough, that they should love themselves. And then once they have established love within self, to share love um, to others is what it's really about for me. That whether I'm doing it as music or whether I'm doing it as a teacher, etc., it's that same thread, you know, runs through. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
No, it definitely does. I mean, there's a lot of times where, I mean, I'll just take contemporary rap, or just rap in general, where it's just talking about like what is happening in these people's lives. There's not much love. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of animosity. So for you to be able to like basically like not only as a teacher but also as like an artist to pretty much just push that message of positivity and love yourself because love yourself so you can love others, and then because ultimately we all are pretty much similar to each other. There's a lot of
Right.
things, and that's one thing that I really like you're mentioning with the pandemic. I got went into some dark rabbit holes of who I was, and just like my
Absolutely.
I don't remember what song it was off this recent album, but you were talking about, I think it was In the Moment, and you were talking about how you don't know who you are, if you're your dark side, if you're your light side, or if you're a mixture of both. And just knowing that you are both of them and realizing that it's okay to have those dark sides makes you love yourself, which in turn helps you realize like there really isn't something holding me back from appreciating that person next to me, or appreciating that person's worth next to me. And like yeah, like I said, there's not very many artists that, or at least rap artists that have a contemporary mix as well as those lyrics being imbued inside of their like that message being imbued in their lyrics.
I just Jake, that's your name?
Yes.
So it just I feel so grateful that my records are having that kind of effect. Because honestly, man, like I this is okay. So I've written an album. I've written and recorded an album every year for the past maybe 10 years. And they never
Okay.
and they never came out. And for one reason or another. And I really do think that ultimately the reason why these other projects that I developed did not see the light of day. I still put out, I mean, I was still putting out like as a featured artist or as like a collaborative
Hmm.
or an EP. I was still putting out like 50 records a year. Like it was still
Damn. Okay.
a tremendous amount of output, but I wasn't putting out my own projects. And when it came to my own projects, for whatever reason, I feel like the authenticity of what I wanted to express just wasn't there. I was still
Hmm.
trying to be somebody,
Yeah.
trying to formulate the persona of Born Eye, trying to meet the benchmarks of the industry and all that other type of shit.
Yeah.
And like I just let that go, you know, and
Hmm.
was like, even when it comes to like my faith, my faith as a Buddhist person, like I think it was, I was trying to like weave in some aspects of that without being just explicitly like, no, I'm a Buddhist, this is my religious background, this is like, you know, this is this is true to my heart and true to my
Hmm.
spirit, and this is what I want to talk about, you know.
Yeah.
So like I really, I did go down some dark rabbit holes in this pandemic for sure. I had some mental health crises that came up, etc. And it, all of that pointed me to like, yo, if you're gonna die, you might as well be honest with
Yeah.
when, you know what I'm saying? You might as well make the most authentic expression of yourself public.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what helped create this album. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you say it many times in the album too. You're talking about how it's just like, yo, you gotta love yourself. There's things that you go through, and one of the songs specifically, excuse me, was Silver Spring Diary. That was one of my favorites. And
Oh
you talk a
wow.
little bit about like your childhood and everything, and how you're like up and coming, and you're surrounded by a lot of this darkness. Um, and just like loss. Do you think that listening and being around that kind of pushed you to be a little bit more spiritual and kind of made you see like the bigger picture?
Yeah, I definitely would say that so much of my formative years as my family's from Ghana in West Africa. I'm a first generation immigrant kid, and growing up in the area that I grew up in Silver Spring was it was a mixture of like families just trying to get by, and then um, a lot of the expressions of the crack era at that time, like a lot of
Mm,
drug dealers, a lot of drug users, a lot of kids who were like, you know, involved in that lifestyle, and all of it made all of it made me question myself. Like when kids would ask me kind of ignorant questions about being an African kid, and like make me feel like bully me around
yeah,
being the African kid, it made me ask myself, like, is there something wrong with me? And then I went extra hard to, like, to become a little baby gangster or whatever.
yeah.
I wanted to be involved in all of that. I wanted to sell
Mhm.
drugs. I wanted to, just to be accepted by this
Yeah,
community.
I get it.
You know what I mean? And so, but what it really brought up for me ultimately was like, so in that song, there's a line that says like, couldn't be soft on that Belpre street, even though my heart was still truly the texture of fleece. And it's just like, yo, I was still a soft-hearted kid. And then the next line is, I aspired to be colder. As I got a little older, then I got a little bolder, started rapping, now it's over. Now my niggas selling soda, open cans of Coca-Cola, selling ace of dirt for 40 to your shorty from a rover. Yeah, it's just like going in, you know, wanting to adapt to what I saw as the acceptable way of being quickly escalated into a bunch of like questionable decisions. And ultimately like led astray, and then like a big part of the path is just coming back.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the other thing too. A lot of where we go doesn't define who we are. It's how we're able to bounce back from that. And I mean, it looks like you were pretty successful in that bounce back. You realized like the path that you were going down, and you switched it up. And was it when you were younger that you got into like meditation and everything, or was it kind of you were a little bit older and understood it more from that perspective?
Kind of both. My mother introduced me to Buddhism and meditation at a very young age, because my mother was a
Okay.
Buddhist, and
Oh, okay.
and that was not kind of like not the norm for an African woman
Yeah.
in America to be practicing Buddhist, and she was practicing in the Nichiren Soshu tradition, where they chant the mantra Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and so I would go to the temples with my mom and I. I'm an only child. My mom and I are
Okay.
best friends. And so I would go to the temple with my mom, and I'd see the monks and the priests chanting, and I just it was just it had a profound effect on me.
Of
And so
course.
I considered myself a Buddhist practitioner from a very young age. However, I really wasn't practicing at that time any,
Hmm.
meditation in a deliberate way, etc. And it was when I got to college. So my parents also gave me the gift of being able to explore different spiritual traditions. Like,
Oh, okay.
so I wasn't baked in from birth into Christianity or into Buddhism or
Yeah.
whatever. My parents kind of had a freer concept. So I definitely dove deeply into Christianity, dove deeply into Islam, deeply into Judaism, deeply into Hinduism, deeply into Rastafari, 5% Nation, Nation of Islam, etc. And then um, I met my girlfriend, now wife, in college, and we became pregnant with our first child. And for some reason, I saw I watched a documentary in school about His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and it brought me back to those days with my mother in the temple, and there was this feeling like, coming back to this path would be a good thing for me to do as a new father,
Of course, of course.
and so it had a lot to do with being a new dad, and
Mhm.
wanting to have a path that I could share with my children,
Yeah.
with my new child, and now my many children. Um, um, yeah, it had a lot to do with that. Like, but the impetus came from my mother. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you mentioned that you would go with your mom, and you kind of just were. I mean, as kids, because I was raised Roman Catholic, so I would go to church and everything, Catholic school and everything. And it's like as a kid, you kind of you're there and you're present, but in a way, it's kind of just washing over you because you're too young to fully understand the and grasp how large and how big it really is.
Yeah.
And then, like you mentioned, as you got older, there was a moment that just clicked, and you were like, "Oh, okay, wow, this is super important. Like this is something that I would like to take with me and hold on to."
Absolutely, absolutely. I went to Catholic school. Like, spirituality has always been very important to me from the beginning. And I had a Buddhist nun tell me that, like, she's like, I think that you're just a part of the Buddha family. Like,
Hmm.
that you've been doing this for many lifetimes, and I feel that way very deeply. And I think that as a rapper, I'll tell you what, like, my last album, 1111, did like 1 million streams.
Yeah.
And I've had a bunch of different records do a million, multiple millions, or whatever. And I have friends who have done like way more than that. But like this album, completely independently, we've done like at this time, at the time of recording, we're at like 20,000 or so streams or whatever. And that's kind of modest in terms of like what I'm used to, but it's so satisfying that, like, this is like my tribe of people, what I'm saying? Like, this is like
Yeah.
this, what I mean? Like, these people are really like rocking with me, and like are feeling, and like I've gotten so many messages of people saying like, yo, this is getting me through, like, this is getting me through,
Yeah.
or, this is like, this is exactly what I needed right now. And that's like ultimately what I wanted to create, was something that could be a companion for people on their journey,
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that was probably like an aside, but like, yeah.
No, I mean it definitely reaches that sort of, or that it has that sort of sentiment, especially on me. I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm at a point where I'm a little more understanding of like my mental state, and just I'm a little more stable. But had I heard this about a year ago, even like 5 months ago, this would have blown my mind. I mean, it still does. The fact that, like you said, you're able to put something out that means something so much to you, that it's able to connect that deeply with others. And that authenticity isn't very present. Like you're mentioning, you've had to come out with stuff based on what labels want,
Yeah,
based
yeah,
on what other people are wanting for you to do. But it's like at the end of the day, it's your art that you're coming out with. So why would you not want to put something forward that you feel fully behind? Even if, like you mentioned, even if it's not, like you said, it's getting modest streams, but still it has a deeper meaning to you, as well as
yeah,
like to the fans that connect with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely, definitely. And um, what I'm what's fun about having an independent project is that, like, well, right now I feel very artistically fulfilled. I don't really I'm not really thinking about another album right now or recording
Mhm.
anything else. You know, that's a first for me because I'm always thinking about the next project.
Okay.
But right now, I'm not really thinking about that. I'm just like, so I've shot 2 videos. Well, no, I've released 2 videos ahead of the release of this album,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna shoot a video for every song on this project. So now, so the next video was it's gonna be for Unenlightened,
Okay.
and I'm just looking at like the semifinal cut for that right now, and it's just
Okay.
an amazing, amazing, amazing visual work. And then I have the video for New Avatars is shot also. So at this time, like I'm going to be going to Utah to shoot Omani Padme Hum, and then when I get back, I'll be going to New York to shoot Walking Meditation, and then we'll be shooting Personality, and you know, a bunch of different stuff. So
Mhm.
now I'm really focused on telling the visual story, and
Okay. Yeah, of course.
and yeah, that's like the art part of it, you know, that I'm really excited about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty excited too. Like you're mentioning, you came out with the with the musical aspect. Now you're looking at the visual. I mean, it's great to have that balance, that both where you can engage your fans through the music, but with meaning and lyrics. But you can also do it visually. And with type of music that you're putting out, the more meditative and the more spiritual, I'm excited to like honestly see exactly what like what's coming out for these things. I mean, it's it makes me happy that like I keep saying, it makes me happy that there are people that don't care like you don't care. You're just like, I'm just gonna put something out that is fulfilling to me, that's fulfilling to my fans, even if it is a small amount. Because again, there's not many people that are able to look past that. I mean, like I know one of your inspirations, Kanye West. He's huge in terms of like spirituality, and even in the beginning, the backpack rap era, where he was just
Yeah.
talking about like what he was experiencing, even though he wasn't fully gangster, but he was
Yeah.
still in like involved in the world. And I don't know how much you've listened to this new album, Donda, but in Pure Souls, where he's talking about how he even knew from a young age that he was that no matter where he was, he still felt like he was still didn't belong. He's talking
Yeah.
about like, you're in my car and we're not in the same lane. So it's like it's really interesting. Just bring it back around, that you're allowing this to like reach people that feel on that cusp, or that feel like they're not in that liminal space where they don't know where they belong, or even like mentally liminal. It's just like it provides you solace in a way. It's like, hey, don't worry, like we're all in these positions.
You know, it's so true, like what you're saying. And you know, dude, I'm humbled. I'm humbled and very grateful by you, just connecting with you,
Oh, thank
and
you, man.
you know what I'm saying, like because I can feel your journey in how we're talking here. You know what I'm saying, like
Mhm.
and what you're saying is like even like 5 months ago, it would have been like this. Like that's how it is for me too. It's just like I'm like very much in this moment, you know. That's you know the name of the album,
Mhm.
and why that's important to me is like so much of our lives are spent thinking about the past or
Yeah.
planning for the future, and
Uh-huh.
very rarely are we taking time to just be in this moment. And that feeling when you are walking, when you've like say you've you know you've taken a long flight and then you had to wait and pick up your baggage from baggage claim, then you get into the Uber or someone comes pick you up, then you get home and then you have to carry your luggage upstairs to your room, and you finally put your luggage down, take your shoes off, and you're just like, oh, you know, that feeling of unburdening yourself. Like we can do that for ourselves in each moment by letting go of the past and the future and just allowing ourselves to be present and to be here in this moment. And when we do that, um, we give ourselves an opportunity to see what's really going on with us right now,
Mhm.
right here and right now. You know, like how does my mind feel? How does my body feel? How does my heart feel? And and based on how we're feeling right now, like what do I need? You know, do I need to
Yeah.
take a shower? Do I need to take a walk? Do I need to take a nap? Do I need to call a friend? You know, like, what can I say to myself? Could I speak to myself in the same way that I speak to a best friend or a loved one instead of putting
Yeah,
myself
definitely.
down, you know, all that type of shit. So I just want people to be present and to be kind to themselves and first and foremost and to others. Yeah. I feel like I'm rambling, but hopefully it makes
No,
sense.
no, it makes total sense. I mean, I'm exactly. I think exactly how you do. Yeah, like with I got into meditation because I was mainly I was really really depressed about like one of my friends leaving school, and I didn't realize how bad it was till he came visited and then left, and then that's when all those emotions just swirled up and exploded almost. Couldn't control it or anything. And I realized like, hey, I can't be living in the past. I can't be living in the future. I have to live right now. I feel what I feel, and that's fine. Like I'm human. It's okay to do that. But I can't keep worrying and wanting to live in something that I can't live back in. I have to focus on
Mm,
right now. I have to realize like, hey, yeah, it sucks that he's gone, but I mean, you had great times with him, and guess what? That's okay. You will have great times in the future, but that's not something to worry about. We have to worry about how we're going to get to the next moment, how we're going to move forward from here. And from that point on, I started journaling as well too, and got super super mindful. Most recently, I picked up yoga about a year ago.
oh, nice.
That's helped so much, and it's great working on the body too. Good a good about an hour and a half every day. That's
Wow.
what I try to get in. But it slows you. Like we all need something. We all need that thing that just tells us like, okay, you got to back away. Like if I got to miss in a homework assignment just because I got to take it or turn it in late just because I got to give myself a couple hours to just decompress, then that's what I got to do. But you have to be aware, like you're mentioning, you got to be in that moment. You got to know what your body needs. You have to be able to slow down and pause and survey what's the situation at hand.
Yeah. You know, it's each one of us is going to die one day, you know. So
Yeah,
um this experience of being alive is a miraculous, wonderful, crazy thing.
yeah.
And
It's a trip.
it's a big trip. It's a big trip. It's a and it involves so much. It involves so much. And if you are not careful, you can take all of it too seriously and
Oh,
fuck
definitely.
yourself up along the way.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, you know, there's a Buddhist monk named Ajahn Kusalo taught me this song called "The Winds of Change," and it goes, "The winds of change are gonna blow you away. Find the center of the storm each day. The winds of change, oh, they can tear you apart. Seek the shelter of the peaceful heart." And it's like, yeah, man, all this shit is constantly changing, you know?
Yeah.
And find the center of the storm each day. Like, come back to your heart, come back to this moment, come back to your feet, come back to your breath, come back, you know, and just remember, like, I'm alive in this moment. This is completely temporary. Like, I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen next, you know? I don't,
Yeah.
you know. And for me, what's difficult is thinking about the past and ways in which that I haven't lived up to the ideals that I hold dear.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and feeling regret, you know,
Mm.
about about the past, you know. But it's like, it's the same shit. Like, no amount of regret is going to change what has
Yeah.
happened, and no amount of fear or anxiety is going to change the future. What can I do in this moment to be a loving presence in the world, to
Mm.
myself and to others? and that's it. That's like the most that I can make out of each moment, you know. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
I totally agree with everything that you've said. It's just there's the world is very harsh, and I don't think a lot of people realize that until they actually like are put in those situations that basically show that the world is so harsh. So it's hard for a lot of people to understand. Like, there's people are others are going through things that you would never even imagine. So why would you want to make them feel worse, even if it's totally inadvertent and you didn't mean for it? And there's just and I've been talking to my dad always mentions this. He's like, there's a whole air of just a loss of just how do you say it? Like not like feelings, but just like empathy towards each other.
passion.
Yeah, and yeah, compassion, empathy. It's just no one cares anymore, and it's like why would you not care if so you not caring is basically saying that it's okay for another person not to care about you. So if you want to yourself to be cared for, why would you not want to put forth that energy to care for others? Because that will be reciprocated back by just allowing there to be a circle of love. Like, I know that sounds kind of cliche and a little like oversimplified, but I mean, just thinking about it, why would you want to put more strain on someone when you recognize that they do go through things similar to you, if not worse than you? You know?
You know, having so I have a bunch of kids. I have 4 kids, and my youngest is 5. And as a father, you know, being a parent is just like this evolving journey. And in any case, like sometimes my 5-year-old is just difficult. And
Yeah,
I think and the first response you think is the right one is like to like raise your voice and be like, just do what I say. But like
yeah,
a lot of times it's really more about like, you know, I think this kid probably could use a hug. You
yeah,
know, and that and you know and it's, you know, growing up from immigrant parents, that's not like how I was raised, you know. It's like
hmm
to reward bad behavior or difficult behavior with a hug. But I'm like, you know, you know, kudos to my wife who helped me realize this. But it's like a lot of times, you know, bad behavior is expressing that I'm having a hard time right now.
yeah,
You know?
definitely.
So it's like, you know, let me just give this kid a hug before we go any further. Let me just give this kid a hug.
Slow them down.
Yeah, you know, yeah, and that honestly, it always works. That loving approach
hmm
always comes through. So I realized that like we as human beings beat ourselves up a lot for whatever, for like not being, for feeling we're not enough, for feeling like
hmm
we made a mistake or that we're not up to the task or whatever. But like if we can give ourselves the same kind of love and patience and care that we give other people, or if we can care for ourselves the way that we would care for a child, you know, we would let ourselves off the hook for being imperfect because we're all imperfect. We don't know what the fuck is going on here. Being
Yeah,
alive is just a big trip, and it's not anything none of us signed up for this shit. Like as much as nobody signed up for this experience. Like
no.
we're all bewildered in the wilderness.
hmm
Like what the fuck is going on? We have no idea. And you know, that said, we should have compassion for ourselves and compassion for others. We should tread lightly and not beat ourselves up and beat others up. And it's easier said than done. And I think our evolutionary history is based on violence,
Yeah,
based on survival. But we're in a new era now,
totally.
and we can continue this evolution in a more peaceful and in a more peaceful and meaningful way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and there's really no need to, yeah, like you mentioned, sometimes it just, you need to slow someone down and just like give them a hug. Because it's like, yeah, that's exactly lashing out and acting out is there's a cause for it. It's not just that they're doing it just because they want to lash out. And just speaking to just the like greater just population in the world. It's just like, what, there's a cause for these reactions. It's not just that, I mean, who knows, maybe there is just someone wanted to react the way that they wanted to react, but more than likely it's like something got them to the point where they had to break, and they had to do something drastic. So it's, yeah, it's, well, I don't know what it is, a lack of compassion, lack of empathy. More than likely it's just that they were forgotten, and they just, well, they were looked over, and they feel hurt by it. And it's like, that hurts, if you're not valued. And the thing is, like you're saying, the whole message is like, we're all valued, we're all worth, like, you are enough. And the mantra of your label too. It's just like, we should be easier on ourselves. I mean, this is hard. Like we were saying earlier, the world is a tough place. Why are we going to be
Shit
so
is
tough
rough,
on each
bro.
other?
Like, what the fuck is going, like what the fuck is going on? Like, like, we don't know. Like, it's
No,
just
exactly.
like this is a complete mystery, and the purpose of it is mysterious, and the underlying current of, like, is this purposeless, is also, it's just like, it haunts you, and it's just like, what the fuck, bro? Like, no, there is not a single human out here who understands. I mean, I don't think there's anybody who understands what's happening.
Yeah,
You
in all
might have
honesty.
you might have built an efficient. So, as I think normalize being confused,
Yeah, definitely.
normalize not knowing, because that's in Zen beginner's mind, or don't know mind. It's like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't know. I don't. Okay. So, like, I know today, but tomorrow I don't know. Like,
Hmm.
and in a situation of abject uncertainty and potential calamity around every corner, I think that the most appropriate expression is love,
Hmm.
and care. Like, let's take care of each other, man. Like, we don't know what the fuck is going on here, but,
Yeah.
like, I live on the back of a lot of exploitation as well. This We live in a society that is, like, built on slavery and violence, but
Mhm.
human beings have been fucked up to one another. It's not like
Yeah, it's a
you know
pattern.
human beings are generally fucked up to other human beings. Like,
Mhm. Yeah,
it's
just
not
look, just
like,
look at history, and look what's
it
going
is
on now.
it's the history of us.
Yeah.
But people like the Buddha, people like Jesus, people like, um the unsung indigenous women shamans, the two spirit people who can see beyond just our base instincts, and, like,
Mhm.
are encouraging us to go to the higher expression of life. That's what I'm about. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to connect with in my art, and just as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great thing to strive for. I mean, like we've been talking, the whole world is messed up. Why would we want to limit our view of everything to something that's so painful and so, like, just perverse in a way?
Yeah.
Like, we're looking at things that, like you said, it's there's so much more out there. And this whole year, I really started getting, or I started kind of started happening. It actually was really funny. I started getting a little bit more spiritual because I was watching Ghost Hunters with my girlfriend, or Ghost Adventures with my girlfriend, and it was just little by little. It was like, okay, well, I mean, if these things are, like, not as crazy as people say that they are, but they're still pretty, like, if there's a spirit here, then what makes you think that there isn't something that's bigger than us, that's more, that's surrounding us, that we just don't see? And then little by little, just sure enough, I really started unpacking the whole idea of just something bigger than us. And I mean, the one thing that really connected with me, like recently, within the last like 2 3 years, was, as funny as it is, was the Jesus is King album, Kanye's last album. And I had been saying, growing up, I was like, yo, I think I'm pretty spiritual. It's just that there's nothing that has been done in a way that can connect with me. I mean, your music connects with me. Like I said, that Jesus is King, the recent Donda has connected with me. And when I found that album, it was like, my friend described the feeling that he had when he like felt the spirit of God. He was like, he was in church and he was like, all of a sudden he was like 8 years old and he just started dancing out of nowhere. And he's like, I don't know what caused me to dance, but I just did. And I was like, I felt something there. And that was like what I felt in that moment. That was what I felt when I was listening to your music. It was just like, it was something that like brought me out of where I was and made me realize like, wow, I'm so much tiny. So why would I not want to kind of surrender to this like greater power, to this something that connects us all. And then through that, you begin to realize like a lot of stuff that we do now doesn't really matter. So why would we not just want to put forth like connection, put forth love, put forth empathy? Because a lot of what is material sufferings like don't really matter in the grand scheme of the universe, and for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's I mean, if we knew that this was the only day that we had, like how would we live it?
Hmm.
It's such an abstract concept, but like it literally could be the truth, So for so many
Yeah.
people, here's a hard fact. There are people who will watch this, and there are people in this moment right now, and these are their last few seconds on Earth.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
It's and I don't know if these are my last few seconds. Like I have no idea,
Yeah,
and
everything's
neither
uncertain.
do you. But
Yeah.
I do feel a certain certainty that it's not,
I agree.
which is a complete delusion, because I could just fucking pop the bubble of my existence could pop at any moment, and
Mhm.
so. But I'll be honest with you, man. If that happens, I would leave behind a 5-year old, an 8-year old, a 16-year old, and a 19-year old. And but what I but there's a song by Stevie Wonder called "As," and he says, um, as and as I know, like the mystery of tomorrow, as I know right now, I'm here, but then tomorrow could make me the oh as I know right now I'm living, but tomorrow could make me the past, but that I mustn't fear, because I know deep in my heart the love of me I've left behind, and I'll be loving you always. And so it's just like, if you don't know what's going to happen next, like be yourself to the fullest and spread love, and let that be your legacy. No one would ever argue with that, and that could only be helpful.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Now we're getting a little. I know you're a busy man. You got a couple things
Yeah.
you gotta get to after this interview. But I just wanted to give a thank you again for coming on. I mean, I've had a great talk with you. It's been a minute since I've talked to someone about spirituality and gotten a little bit deeper, and especially someone of your status. I mean, for crying out loud, you lead meditations on the Balance app. Like that's crazy. The fact that I'm talking to someone of your status in terms of like the meditation community and just the music community is just kind of blows my mind, and I'm really glad that we were able to cross paths and everything. Um, just wanted to ask two final questions. So first thing, what is one thing you would like to let an up and coming artist, producer, creative, what is one piece of advice you would want them to know? And then second thing is there anyone that you're listening to right now you want to shout out? You can go ahead and list them, or even just people that you've come up with in this journey, or that you think need a quick shout out. You're more than welcome to just drop the names.
All right. Yeah, great questions, great questions. And I would say, first and foremost, I would say that it's an honor to be connected with you as well, just as a fellow human being, practitioner, you know, acknowledger of the journey. So like for me, it's also just as wonderful and profound to be connected with you. So thank you.
You.
Um, in terms of the advice that I might have to an artist, is like, I think the most important thing is to search, is to be yourself. Nobody is going to remember or care about the caricature that you presented of what you thought was important in the moment. Like that's not going to fucking last at all.
Yeah.
That's like cotton candy. When the moisture of time touches the cotton candy of your temporary expression, your expedient expression, it's going to dissolve in a heartbeat and ultimately be rendered meaningless. So what you should do, what in my opinion artists should do, is just be who you are. Stake, cement your testament of your existence as a time capsule for the world to experience in this moment or down the line. We know that we're still reading Shakespeare to this day, and he
Yeah.
had no idea that his shit was gonna fucking
Yeah.
basically create modern standards of art and narrative
Mm.
across all boards when he was writing his plays back then. He's no idea that like 600 years later, it was going to be the standard of everything. Just be
Yeah.
yourself, saying like if you want to leave a lasting legacy, or if you want to do something that makes you, I personally dropped a fucking album just now that like I'm telling you, the feeling of artistic fulfillment, you could, it's just so, I feel very fulfilled. I feel complete as an artist. Like and I don't feel like I have to do anything else except make the visuals, and that's a whole different journey than writing the raps and rapping the raps and
Hmm.
recording the raps, all that shit. Like as a rapper, I feel like I said everything I needed to say, and like I feel like I could die today and be fine with my artistic output. And I just want everyone to feel that way. Like, can you die today on what you are creating or have created, or
Hmm.
because you will die and there's no telling when that will happen. So
Yeah.
even while you're in the process of creating whatever it is you're creating, like, could you die okay knowing that you were at least doing what was meaningful? So arrive at that place of authenticity, and the way to arrive at authenticity with yourself is to not have an adversarial relationship with yourself, but to be kind to yourself and be a friend to
Definitely.
yourself, and ask yourself, what is it that you want to say right now, and say those things. Yeah. Now your second question was what, who do I want to highlight?
Yes.
I want to highlight my crew. I want to highlight the Ye family, the YAE family, and the G&D family, the Guns and Doves family. Everybody who's involved in that. I mean, Johnny Tooth, Mac, Willie Ways, Mac, aka MacGyver, Willie Ways, Adriana Milan, AJ Halpern, Nathan Monpettit, AB Logic, my wife Ayana, my kids Sandara, Samadhi, Sati, Siddhartha, my parents. But as an artist, if y'all want to listen to some fucking dope ass shit, listen to the new album from Deborah Bond, and listen to the new album from my brother Tim Hicks, aka Let the Dirt Say Amen. His album God Hates Gucci is unbelievable. Um, and I encourage you to listen to music that inspires you to be the freest version of yourself. Just be free, because you're gonna die.
Yeah.
there's
Might as well
no
have some
there's,
fun.
yeah, dude, just enjoy this ride. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I love that analogy that you used, the cotton candy with the moisture of time. That was just perfect. I never would have thought of it that way, but yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't want to just fade away as an artist
Oh,
because your message can, you if you leave something that doesn't connect, it's gonna be forgotten.
forgotten, but you have the potential to leave a message that will reverberate across time
Yeah.
forever. Say, or at least for but and it all comes from being yourself.
Hmm.
So, but practice your skill, develop your skills. So where skill and authenticity meet, that's where infinity exists. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a perfect way to wrap up this amazing interview. Thank you again, Bornai, for coming on. Don't forget to check out Bornai's recent album. I'm sorry, the name is
In this moment.
In This Moment. He's got some hit tracks on there. My favorite, obviously, Silver Spring Diary.
Thank you.
Tells crazy stories on there. Just gets everyone to be positive. They are, because we are enough. Don't forget to check out the other artists on his label YAE. You Are Enough. Don't forget to listen to his older albums. Follow him on Instagram. That is at
My music.
Born Eye Music.
All my social media is BORN music. It's all Born I music. Yeah. So,
And that's everything for you guys. YouTube, SoundCloud,
yes, right.
Spotify, everything.
Very good.
Twitter, Instagram. Don't forget to check out our old videos as well. Don't forget we have a show October 16th. Catch one. Tickets on sale on the Rise Instagram account, sponsored by El Hempe. We have some pretty good crazy acts coming out for that. We got Purge, Meltdown, Dat Track, and Crowd Control. Other than that, don't forget to like and subscribe our other videos on YouTube. Thank you again, Born Eye. That is at Born Eye Music on Instagram, all the other social handles. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for coming out. See you guys next time.
Cheers.